This video is brought to you by Campfire. Hey, I'm Nando and IV Movies. We're about to talk about Pixar's Onward. If you haven't seen it, it's on Disney+, you can watch it now. But here's the gist. It's kind of like if Peter Parker and Star-Lord's dad died, but then he left them an Infinity Stone that they could use to frequency him, and then the three of them did a weekend at Bernie's through 2 of the 3 Hobbit movies. And if you were a fan of the fun and creative world building from Zootopia, well, I hope they make a Zootopia too, because this is more of a bright situation. I want to be fair, I didn't mind Onward. I think Chris Pratt and Tom Holland did a really good job with the script, managed to work a lot of emotion into the characters. Thought it was beautiful, like most Pixar movies are, although maybe not quite as groundbreaking as recent Pixar movies like Toy Story 4 or Coco. And the third act really tied the whole story together, which is really rare in movies these days. However, changes could be made, and if I could make one small change, it would be this. Magic in the Onward universe would work a little bit more like the recorder. I'm not sure if the recorder is a regional thing, if it's region specific to the United States, or just New Jersey, or just the grade school I went to. Although I'm pretty sure it's something a bunch of kids have done. Basically, the recorder is this awful plastic clarinet sort of thing. It sounds like a weird little plastic clarinet sort of thing would sound. And in, I want to say 3rd grade, my class needed to learn the recorder. None of us wanted to. No one wanted to hear us do it. We were just forced to do it by, I couldn't even guess, one high-ranking member of the Board of Education whose brother was John Recorder, the person who invented and sold recorders. I don't know how high up this conspiracy goes, but that is the best explanation I can come up with for why we learned the recorder. And we all played the recorder at what I would imagine was our 3rd grade graduation, and we all together made a sound that can only be described as, what if Thomas the Tank Engine tried to open a portal to hell? But we all learned the recorder. And yeah, no one went pro on the recorder. I imagine the purpose for the recorder is to serve as an entry-level experience to playing an instrument. If you're a kid who really enjoys the recorder, then you move on to an instrument that isn't a violation of the 8th Amendment. But that's how I want magic to work in the Onward universe. Magic is no longer special. It's a thing that you learn for a year in school. Everyone gets a staff, everyone is forced to learn a levitation spell, and maybe even a fireball. But no one cares. Because when you really get down to it, if you don't have a Phoenix Gem and you can't perform the resurrection spell, all of the magic in Onward, except for one spell, is pretty useless when compared to the technology of today. Like, imagine you had the wizard staff and could do all of the magic that Ian could do without the Phoenix Gem. And I'm going to ignore the growth spell for now, but let's take all of the other spells. If you could make a fireball, would you? When would you do that? What use would that serve? Why would you care? If you could make a bridge to nowhere, how would you use that bridge? If you could levitate small objects, how much of a difference would that make in your everyday life? Like, we as a society are past the use magic to light a fire in everyone's house at sundown phase. We don't need most of the magic from Onward. It can be replicated in a simpler way. So okay, how does Onward change? If magic goes from being something spectacular that only Ian can do, to something mundane that everyone could do if they wanted, but no one really has any use for. Well, first I want to change the intro a little bit. The intro to Onward reads, "Long ago, the world was filled with wonder. It was adventurous, exciting, and best of all, there was magic. And that magic helped all in need, but it wasn't easy to master, and so the world found a simpler way to get by. Over time, magic faded away, but I hope there's still a little magic left in you. So first of all, I don't think this intro works super well in Onward. Like, I think it sets up a couple of threads that never really get pulled. Magic helping all in need doesn't really make a difference in this movie. In fact, technology helps all in need. It lets people live their lives without the help of a benevolent wizard. So there's a class element to magic that isn't really followed up upon. Also, there's an issue regarding convenience. Technology is so easy to use that no one cares about magic, but I hope there's still a little magic left in you. The movie never makes the case for why magic instead of technology. Technology is easier to use than magic, but maybe that ease makes people more complacent. The ease comes with the cost. Think stories like WALL-E. Walking was difficult, so we started using hover chairs, but we lost some agency and needed to relearn to walk and plant so we could survive on our own. Not exactly the same message, but you get the idea. But Onward does not go this route. In fact, not to nitpick, not unlike my podcast Mostly Nitpicking, the movie even contradicts this intro. Magic is not very difficult to master. Ian does it in less than a day. So unless he has a higher metachlorian count than the other wizards, magic is simple enough for anyone with the gift and determination to master easily. But okay, so new intro. Long ago, the world was filled with wonder. It was adventurous, exciting, and best of all, there was magic. And you could do all sorts of things with magic. You could move objects, walk on air. You could even bring people back from the dead. But magic like that required something called a Phoenix Gem. And over time, Phoenix Gems became harder and harder to find until there were almost none left in the world. And as the Phoenix Gems faded away, so did people's love of magic, so they found a new way to get by. But I hope there's still a little magic left in you. So that's your big change. There are no Phoenix Gems left. In a world where everyone can do basic magic, but no one is able to do the extreme, cool, wonderful, inspiring, adventurous magic, people find other ways to get by. Maybe the light bulb was as useful as magic to light a house. But people favored magic because you could do other things like bring people back from the dead. Now that you can't do that anymore, hey, that light bulb doesn't seem like that bad of an idea. It's a lot easier to use. And hey, with electricity, you can do things that magic never could, like wash clothes and fly great distances. So magic was made all but obsolete by technology. So now we got a different version of both Ian and Barley. First, Barley's obsession with magic and wizards doesn't make him a person who plays Dungeons and Dragons all the time. It maps a little closer to someone who got really into music in high school, now wants to be a musician for a living, or someone who's into doing tasks by hand the old way, even though there's a new, more efficient way to do them. Like someone who makes candles online. Not to say that doing that makes you a screw-up or anything like that, but that store-bought candles are easy to get, and that being a professional homemade chandler, that's apparently what a candle maker is called. So maybe that's what Chandler was doing all that time. But doing that isn't seen as the most financially responsible job. Trust me, that's coming from someone who makes YouTube videos for a living. And so Ian is in high school. He has math class, and gym class, and history class, and he has magic class. All of the kids bring their staffs to school like a kid would bring a musical instrument to school once a week, and they all learn a spell. One that isn't really going to change their everyday life. It's kind of like the recorder. So Barley got really into magic, Ian not so much. And then Ian and Barley get a present from their father on Ian's 16th birthday. And it's not a staff, it's a Phoenix Gem. And Ian touches it first, which means it bonds to Ian or something, and Ian is the only person that can use it. So that's why Barley isn't able to cast this spell he's very familiar with, and that's why Ian does all of the magic on the quest. He needs to become very, very good at using magic in a very short amount of time, so that he can complete the spell to bring their dad back. Oh, also, why then do they go on the quest if they're not going to be able to get another Phoenix Gem because they are so rare? Well, they only have half of the spell. The other half of the spell is hidden somewhere. We'll learn that it was in that well. So Ian successfully does half of the spell, gets half of his dad back, realizes there is more spell to go, and then Barley takes Ian on a quest. They go to the Manticore to find the map that now leads to the rest of the spell. Over the course of their journey, Ian and Barley bond. Barley teaches Ian how to do the magic that Ian never really cared to do before. Oh, and I'm getting rid of the growth spell. I think it's a little bit too much of a game breaker. I want the magic in this universe to all be something that can reasonably be made obsolete by technology. So things like fireballs would be pretty useless today. Electricity would be useful every so often if the power went out. But otherwise, there are more efficient ways to produce electricity. Fireworks are just a thing you can buy. And then there's spells that would just be illegal because of the danger associated with them. Like, you can't really use the imitation spell to do anything good. It's really just used for tricking people. So that kind of magic would probably be outlawed. Maybe it would be used in movies or something like that. But in a movie, you need to act, which means you need to lie, which means the spell would probably wear off anyway. And there would probably be laws associated with reproducing an actor via magic. So I don't imagine it's something that would be used all that often. Same goes for the bridge. While, yeah, it's useful in some really specific situations, like say if it was icy out and you didn't want to step on the ground or it was raining. Otherwise, imagine if you could create an invisible flat surface. What would you use that for? And if the spell required you to be 100% confident and focused, that would make this spell very dangerous. So this one would probably be outlawed too, especially for children. Yeah, hypothetically, you could use it to circumvent things like waterways, but there would just be bridges made for that, or planes. Now, levitation, useful. However, it requires a lot of concentration, and maybe in this version of the movie, there would be a limit to how much you can levitate, like maybe a little bit more than what you could actually carry. So there would be some very specific uses for it. Construction workers, movers, things like that. But otherwise, it would probably be more work than it's worth. However, then you've got the growth spell. And the growth spell is a game breaker, and the reason why it's shown in the movie. It would eliminate scarcity of resources, specifically food. If they are able to make a giant Cheeto and then eat that giant Cheeto, what's stopping them from embiggening all of food? No hunger. Embiggening all of the gas. It's too valuable a spell. So I want to get rid of that. But you may wonder, well, then how do we have that bit where Barley is tiny? I think you could get over that with pixie dust. In this version of the movie, pixies will naturally create their own magic. It's borderline impossible to control and highly illegal because of how volatile it is, but Barley accidentally bumps into one. A little pixie dust falls on Barley, and as a result, he shrinks. It goes away after a few minutes, but causes a little bit of chaos in the moment. But that's how I want magic to work in Onward. I think it should be more mundane. Because this movie is not about magic, it's about adventure and quests and wonder. That's where the characters need to get by the end of the movie. They need to recapture their sense of adventure. Because most of the things that change at the end of Onward don't have anything to do with magic. Colt, the centaur, runs now. But not because he has the ability to run, because he finds it fun. The Manticore dresses differently, has a new passion for life, but not because of magic, just because of the experience she had fighting the dragon. And the pixies fly again, but not because they weren't able to before, just because they never wanted to. But after their interaction with Ian and Barley, the pixies were forced to fly, and that rekindled their love of flying. Onward is really about two things. It's about two brothers and their relationship, how even though he never had a father, Ian had a surrogate father figure in his older brother Barley. And then there's the second part of the movie, adventure, passion, as Barley calls it, your heart's fire. Ian and Barley go on a dangerous quest, and that quest forces Ian and Barley and everyone else they interact with to get back in touch with their adventurous side, to reignite their heart's fire, and get in touch with their sense of adventure. And I would actually change a little bit about the ending too. Just rearrange some beats to make it flow a little better. So Ian and Barley find what is the second half of the spell. Ian finishes the spell right before sundown, and Ian and Barley's father begins to come back. But the curse in the form of the dragon comes to stop them. And then we get a big fight between the Manticore and the dragon. During this fight, the mom is flying with the Manticore. The Manticore manages to cut the dragon's wings off like in the movie, but is eventually grounded. Then Ian uses the magic spells he learned over the course of the movie to fight the dragon. And it's cool and exciting, but Ian loses his magic staff. And before the dragon is able to kill him, Mom picks up the sword, starts running towards the dragon, but she's not going to make it in time. And then, from the top of the hill, we hear a noise. Mom looks back, sees Colt, and Colt gallops in. This will be Colt's big moment. He's the 5th lead in the movie. He should have a moment where he realizes that Bartley was right. There was a time when centaurs roamed the field, ran great distances at great speed. And the dragon created a large ditch when it came to life, so none of the police in their cars are able to make it to the dragon. But Colt embraces his centaur roots, goes, picks up Mom, who is holding the sword. Colt brings Mom over to the dragon. Mom, and by the way, her name is Laurel. I've just been calling her Mom throughout this video. But Laurel runs up the dragon using techniques she learned in her warrior exercise videos. Stabs the dragon explodes. Now Mom and Ian are trapped together while Barley reunites with their dad. It's a cute little moment together between the two of them, especially since Mom seems to be super supportive. She raised Barley and Ian on her own. Let's let Ian and Mom experience this moment, watching Barley reunite with their father together. And now Ian will read the epilogue, which has changed. Long ago, the world was filled with wonder. It was adventurous, exciting, and best of all, there was magic. And yeah, some of that magic might be gone, but that doesn't mean the wonder needs to go with it. Ian is teaching his class magic, and now they're all super into it because they saw the big cool magic fight with the dragon. Corey is excited, serving food. Colt gallops to work. Mom goes to spar, I guess, with Corey. Barley gets a new van. Ian has painted a cool picture of them on it. And in this version of the movie, they wouldn't fly off into the sunset just because that wouldn't gel with the magic I've already established. But I would make one final change. Instead of the license plate reading Guinevere 2, it would read Whimsical, because that's what their dad told Barley his wizard name would be. And the idea of magic and life being more playful and extravagant is what this movie was really all about anyway. Oh, and one more thing. If Onward has taught us anything, it's that world building ain't easy. Organizing stories can be difficult, but it doesn't need to be. Campfire Pro is a writing software with tons of tools to keep you organized. Its character pages will help you keep track of all of your characters with details and backstories. Timelines can help you hammer out all of those plot points. You can even track character arcs and use the map view to create all of the locations you need. And you'll also definitely want to check out the brand new World Building Pack. It is an expansion to Campfire Pro with even more tools to help build your story's world, construct new species, items, magic systems, and develop your cultures with religions, philosophies, and languages with this massive bundle of features. Campfire Pro is free to use until the end of April, but is normally a one-time purchase of $49.99. The World Building Pack is 40% off at only $14.99 until the end of April 2020. Do away with all of those Word documents and spreadsheets. Keep everything easily accessible with Campfire Pro. Click the link in the description to learn more. As always, I have to give a humongous thank you to everyone who continues to support the channel on Patreon. You guys are the best. You want to see your names up here, get access to videos early, other cool stuff, like the monthly whiteboard videos. It's a video I do. I stand in front of that whiteboard right over there, although not with what's written on it there. Don't look at that. Basically, we have a new tier of patrons called the Illuminati, woo, spooky patrons. Every month, they get to suggest topics for it and then vote on which topic I do a video on. So, like, how could Justin Hammer be the next big bad of the MCU? That's what we did in February. In March, we did how would I have rewritten the DCEU, so like my pitch for a bunch of movies, and I think it was a lot of fun. Everybody really liked that. In April, we're doing what is essentially a book report. I have not decided which book I'm going to read yet, but I have like 5 days to figure that out. I'm going to read the book, talk about how I would adapt it into a movie, who I would cast as the characters, and what I would change. So, people that throw in $5 or more a month get to make suggestions and then vote on those suggestions, and then every patron, anybody who throws in literally any amount of money, is able to watch the videos live and watch the older videos later. It's super cool. I'm so happy you guys are enjoying it. Also, please subscribe to my podcast, Mostly Nitpicking. Every week, me and my friends DJ and Diggins pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. We did an episode on Onward, we did an episode on Trolls World Tour, we did an episode that we're just about to put out on The Hunt, so whenever a movie comes to some streaming service like Artemis Fowl, Scoob very soon, or I don't know, some other movie that based on a comic book that who knows maybe could come to some sort of streaming platform. If this ever comes out, we will definitely do that too. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are at Nitpicking Pod on Twitter. Also, speaking of Twitter, last thing, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is at Nando Movies. It means a lot to me for no good reason. It's where I post updates on videos, podcasts, comics I'm reading, shows I'm watching, all kinds of stuff like that. That is all I got. I'll see you next time.